So welcome to the healing room. Tonight's conversation is around the Seven Contemplations. And this is an ebook that anyone can get on my website for free. Some years ago, my inner voice asked me to write the Seven Contemplations. And as I was writing it, I became aware that this was a tool that I've been using for years, that my inner voice gave me to work on my consciousness, to work on my ego, actually. Because part of the work, from my perspective of being in this world, is to learn about ourselves and our ego and its limited perceptions and limiting beliefs about what it is to be in this world. And so the Seven Contemplations serve as a tool to begin to dissolve these constructs created by our ego, because our ego wants to keep us safe, right? In this little box of reality that we can control. And so it constructs an identity. This is who I am. This is what I do. These are my titles. And so that box is very limiting. It doesn't allow us to experience the fullness of what's available to us in this reality. So it just creates this very limited lens of perception. And it's not very useful, because this world is actually infinite, with infinite possibilities. But if we get so contracted as to think we understand this world, that we actually understand what's governing this world and how this world actually operates, we are completely and utterly deluded, because it's beyond the beyond how things operate in this reality, how things operate in the universe. And so these Seven Contemplations support us in beginning to let go of all these constructs that don't allow us to evolve as a soul having a human experience, right? This is just one experience of a myriad of experiences of our soul's existence. It's the blink of an eye of existence. And so the first contemplation informs us that it's all an illusion, that this world is an illusion. And why is it an illusion? Because it's temporary. It's constantly changing. That which is real is permanent. It's based in truth, and that which is unchanging. So here we are in a world that is constantly changing from one day to the next, from one moment to the next. We don't know what's going to happen next. And yet we think we understand how this world works. But in order to get to the truth, right, in order to get to a place of truly understanding something, anything, we have to pierce this world of illusion. We have to go through this world, lift the veils, and then perhaps get a glimpse of reality. But if we don't realize that it's an illusion, then how do we begin to do the inner work to go beyond the illusion? And so the first contemplation helps us to begin to step back from thinking that this is all that exists, right? That this world that I'm seeing outside of me is all that exists. If that was the case, then what happens to me when this body is no longer here? Who am I? What am I? Where do I go? What becomes of me? Who knows, right? So contemplation number one is it's all an illusion. And from there, because it's all an illusion, there is no outside. That the outside world is simply reflecting my inner state of consciousness. The external world is reflecting back to me my inner state of consciousness. So whatever I am seeing, I'm actually projecting, as if the world is a movie screen, and I'm projecting onto this movie screen all of my beliefs, all of my experiences, all of my ideas. And so the world simply sends back to me that which I believe. It's really simple. Otherwise, how is it that each one of us has such a different perspective of reality when we're all living in the same exact reality? It's because we're not. Each one of us is living in our own construct. And then we, as a collective, create this construct called the mass consciousness. However, through this awareness that there is no outside and it's all my own creation, I get to understand what's transpiring inside of me around my limiting beliefs and programs and patterns, because the same thing will occur to me over and over and over again. The external world will present to me the patterns I'm running internally, and then I can use that information to heal myself. Like Groundhog's Day, right? That movie. Every day he'd wake up and it's the same day, the same experience. It began to change for him, the main character in that movie, when he shifted his consciousness. Then the external world began to change for him. Everything began to change. Even the people around him began to change. So it's a powerful teaching, that movie, that we are generating reality 100%. Reality isn't coming to us. We are creating it. And since we're generating reality, contemplation number 3 says, anything that I judge in the external world is actually judging myself. The external world is a projection of my own inner state of consciousness. So anything I project my judgments on is actually judging myself. Right? It's all me. This being is a microcosm of the macrocosm. The external world is the greater reality of this inner world. So this is actually really good news once you've done the inner work. Because when I get to the place of integrating the external world, accepting everything that is as it is, loving everything that is as it is, then my relationship to the external world becomes harmonic. And everything I think, everything I feel begins to inform the world of what I'd like to experience. So the world simply gives back to me my transmission. And so when this inner work is done, my presence in the world as a whole healed being begins to change the world. So instead of the external world telling me what my unconscious beliefs are, limiting beliefs are, I integrate my subconscious limiting beliefs so that the inner work is complete. And then I begin to radiate into the world this wholeness, which begins to transform the world around me. That's why each one of our own healings benefits all of humanity. It's never done just for ourself, our healing work, our inner work. It's always done as a service to the greater whole, because we're all connected. The first contemplation, it's all an illusion, has us based in duality. But once we navigate through the illusion, through the veils, then we get to the place of unity consciousness, of oneness. And so we begin to return this realm of duality, of separation, to unity consciousness through our holding unity consciousness, through our radiating unity consciousness, unconditional love. I call it the new paradigm. The old paradigm is the illusion, separation, duality, fear, hatred, anger, right? All those lower base emotions. When we do the inner work, we begin to generate the new paradigm, or heaven on earth, which is not a new paradigm. I'll say this over and over again. It's simply a shift in consciousness that then begins to generate that consciousness. It begins to fortify that reality on the planet. So it exists in each moment if we're ready, willing, and able to tap into it and receive from it. So contemplation number 3, there is all judgment is self-judgment. And from this place of judgment, we go to contemplation number 4, which is suffering is a perspective. So because it's my reality and I'm generating reality 100%, that which I am creating will be either heaven or hell on earth. And so if I'm not in heaven on earth, then I'm going to be creating hell on earth. I'm going to be creating suffering. And so the Buddha said, there is suffering. It's part of our human reality, part of being in this world. But I took it to the next level of suffering is a perspective. And that when we can sit with our suffering, when we can observe our suffering, that suffering will take us somewhere. So instead of trying to avoid pain and suffering, distract ourselves from these painful experiences. Instead, if we drop into it and allow it to inform us, what is the cause of my suffering? Why am I in this position? And then in sitting in the suffering, it begins to transform us. Some of us may have heard of the term the dark night of the soul. I've spoken about it numerous times in this platform. It's something I've experienced for many, many years. And the dark night of the soul informed me that when I surrender into the suffering and allow myself to fully experience it, something happens to me. Something transforms inside of me. That suffering is a tool and a device for my soul's evolution and consciousness. It's not a problem. I didn't do anything wrong per se. Yes, I may be doing something. There's various forms of suffering. There's the suffering of ignorance, that I am doing something that is against nature, like eating the wrong diet for myself or doing the wrong form of exercise. Then there's the suffering that is part of life, that things just happen. Perhaps I lose a loved one. Perhaps I don't get a job that I really wanted. There's various forms of suffering. Regardless, the goal is to drop into the suffering and let the suffering inform us of what its purpose is, what it's here to gift us with. Because through that suffering, we are reborn. We are birthed into a new aspect of ourself. It's like the caterpillar turning into a butterfly. There are certain points in time where we go into this cocoon stage. And so if that caterpillar didn't understand its nature, it would think that the cocoon stage, there was something wrong. But instead, it has an intelligence inside of itself saying, I have to go through this for some reason. Maybe it doesn't know what's on the other side. Maybe it doesn't know about the butterfly it's here to become. But it knows there's something in this process of transformation where it dissolves its consciousness, its identity, its limited identity, dissolves in order to become something greater. But the caterpillar couldn't become a butterfly if it avoided going into this stage that I will call suffering. So each one of us has to go through this process in order to get our wings, in order to get greater perspective, in order to dissolve our limited consciousness, our constructs, our defense mechanisms, our survival techniques, our wounds from the past. All these things are limiting us, defining us, cementing our consciousness so we can't fly. But if we use the suffering, if we use the wounds of the past, if we use all of the things of this world alchemically, then we can transform, because everything is just energy anyway. So we use our pain and suffering as a tool of alchemy and transformation to raise our consciousness to the next level. And we go through this over and over and over again in these bodies. That's the point of being in a body, to become beyond what we thought we could ever become, to be in this world, but not of the world, right? To be in the world, but not of the world. Contemplation number 5 says, embrace the paradox. How do I be in the world, but not of the world? Right? We sit with this contemplation. What does that mean exactly? It means I'm born into a limited sphere of consciousness. Given all of these experiences, I have a family lineage of burdens upon me. I go to school. I'm conditioned in school about what reality is. I have a religion. I'm conditioned through all the dogma of my religion. So by the time I'm 20, I have a collection, a bag full of conditioning that I then have to at some point drop, dissolve, let go, surrender. So I come into the world with all this baggage, and my goal is to drop it, to die 1,000 deaths, and let go of all of these limiting ideas and beliefs of who I think I am. Not this, not this, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm beyond that, I'm beyond that. So every time the ego is like, no, 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 you're this, you're that, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, thank you for your opinion, ego. I'm going to transcend that as well. So we have the power to just observe these thoughts, observe these limitations, and not feed it anymore, to transcend them. And so in order to do that, we embrace the paradox of this reality, to accept all that is as it is and realize that two completely opposing ideas can be present at the same time. Two completely opposing ideas can exist and be true at the same time in this world of illusion. this contemplation will help us to get very, very far, because we stop trying to fight the good, bad, right, wrong, this, that, my perspective versus your perspective. Instead, we say, yeah, it's all true. It's all true, because perception creates reality. So who am I to go against someone else's perception against reality? If they believe it's true, I agree, it's true for you. And this is true for me, a very different perspective. So embracing the paradox gives us a lot of leverage to be in this world and not try to fight what is presented, but to simply accept it for what it is. It's not easy to embrace the paradox. It's not easy. How am I the creator of my reality 100% if when I was a child I was abused? Did I create that? Is it my fault? Embrace the paradox. Because what do you know? Contemplation number 6. I know nothing. I don't know anything. I don't know why I was abused when I was a child. I don't know why I had all those experiences. I don't know why I chose that family. I have no idea, because I know nothing. I know nothing of my soul's contract. I know nothing of my karma with this family. I don't know anything. So I let go of my mind's delusion that it understands who I am, what I'm here to do, and what this world is all about. I let go. I surrender into the emptiness of not knowing. And when I do that, when I drop into I know nothing, all of a sudden, something arises in the emptiness. Information, guidance, truth, knowledge, wisdom, because the universe abhors a vacuum. So if my mind is full of concepts and constructs, there's no room to receive higher consciousness. There's no room to receive intuitive insights. There's no room to receive wisdom. But when I step into the emptiness and I bow my head and I say, I know nothing. Show me the way. Help me with this situation. What do I do about this? I need support. I need guidance. That humility opens up the doorway to a tremendous amount of information. Wisdom of the universe, I call it. All of us have access to this wisdom. And we have greater access if we go to that place of humility and ask for support. Ask, and it is given. Knock, and the door shall be opened unto you. So I work with that contemplation for many, many years. So there's a part of my consciousness that just resides in emptiness, so that I'm always available to receiving insights as needed. And not only that, but also hearing my inner voice. Call so-and-so, they need your support. Send an email to this person about such and such. Call your mother, she's expecting you. Like there's a part of my consciousness that is always available to this voice inside of me. I call it my inner teacher. So wise, so intelligent. And it says things and I'm like, damn, that's spot on. How does this part of me know this? Because it's coming from this place of the void, of the emptiness, where all truth arises. But we have to let go of enough of our own egoic construct to create space to receive. Now, no doubt, each one of us here on this call, on this forum, have had this experience of like just this insight or intuition arising, perhaps when you're doing dishes or taking a shower, like when your mind is busy doing something else, all of a sudden something slips in. But the reality is we have access to this all the time. If we just sit down, tune in, go empty, ask for what is needed, and let it arise in our consciousness. Once I had all these supplements that were going to expire within a month, like very expensive. And I was all like reacting and what do I do? And oh, what a waste of money it is. And so I remembered, oh, I just got to sit down and ask, what should I do about this? So I did. I calmed myself down enough. I sat down and said, what do I do with all these supplements? And within a second, I heard, sell it on eBay. Of course. That's what the voice said. Sell it on eBay, of course. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. Put it on eBay. They were all gone within 2 days. But had I gotten stuck in the loop of trying to figure it out within this little box of consciousness that I resided in, I couldn't have seen the greater perspective, the eagle eye perspective of my higher self. So that's why dropping, letting go, opening up, asking for support, then it arises, it comes. I do it with the angels, archangels. Anytime I need something, some support in any way, shape, or form, I reach out and I ask for help because I know that it's infinite. The possibilities of support are infinite. So I'm not going to limit it with my consciousness, even with any illnesses that I may experience. I will say, what can we do about this illness? What shall we do? That's where I go. I don't say, what shall I do? I say, what shall we do about this? Because this being is a part of the greater being. So if this is a cell in the body of God, of the universe, then what shall we do about this illness? And then I simply wait to see what arises. And then I act on the guidance. That's the other piece. When the guidance comes, you act. So contemplation number 6, I know nothing. And from this place, we move to contemplation number 7, which is if I'm to be in this world, if I'm to navigate this illusion, how do I do so with this limited consciousness? What is governing this realm? How do things work in this reality? And so in the 7th contemplation is the truth will set me free. The truth will set me free. What truth? What is this truth? And the reality is that this realm, this material universe, is governed by universal laws and spiritual principles. Nothing exists without something governing it. Like nature, how perfect it is, how everything is organized by this intelligence. Nothing is haphazard, nothing is accidental, it's genius. So what is operating this genius? What is behind this genius, this intelligence? There are these laws. And the first one is the law of oneness, that we are all one. So the illusion is we are separate. We are duality. The truth is it's all one. So the truth shall set me free leads me to the study of the universal laws and spiritual principles. It's the second ebook that I created, the same title, that then allows us to explore these laws so that we have the awareness of how to operate in this realm and how not to go against the natural order of things. For example, the law of cause and effect, that every action has an equal reaction. Everything I put into the world comes back to me equally. The law of cause and effect also known as the law of karma. That which I do to others returns to me. So if each one of us knew about this law, we would behave very differently on the planet. We would behave very differently to each other, because what I'm doing to you is coming back to me in some way, shape, or form. Maybe immediately, maybe in a few years, maybe in a few lifetimes. But that is a main cause of suffering, is the ignorance of the laws that are running the whole show in this reality. So you can explore the 12 Universal Laws and Spiritual Principles in the next ebook. Both are for free on my website as a free download. Those are the 7 contemplations. It's all an illusion. There is no outside. Because there's no outside, all judgment is self-judgment. Suffering is a perspective. Embrace the paradox. I know nothing, and the truth shall set me free.